Let's study about effluent treatment plant. Effluent, as defined by the United States Environmental Protection Agency, is a wastewater, whether treated or untreated, that flows out of a treatment plant, sewer, or industrial outfall. This term typically refers to waste discharged into surface waters such as rivers, lakes, or oceans. ETPs are designed to clean industrial effluents and contaminated water from various sources, including rivers and lakes. The primary purpose of ETPs is to treat this wastewater to a level where it can be safely reused for other purposes, thereby reducing the environmental impact and conserving water resources. The treatment process in ETPs typically involves several stages, including physical, chemical, and biological processes to remove contaminants. Processes involved in ETP: primary treatment, which is also known as mechanical treatment, secondary treatment, known as biological treatment, and tertiary or advanced treatment. So first is primary treatment or mechanical treatment. The first step in primary treatment involves passing the wastewater through screens. These screens trap and remove larger suspended and floating materials such as paper, rags, wooden pieces, and wires. After screening, the wastewater flows into grit chambers. These are shallow rectangular tanks where the velocity of the flow is reduced. This slowdown allows heavier inorganic particles like sand, gravel, and other grit to settle at the bottom, separating them from wastewater. The next step is sedimentation. The wastewater then enters into sedimentation basins or primary settling tanks where the flow is further slowed. This allows the suspended solids to settle at the bottom of the tank. The settled solids form a sludge layer which is periodically removed. The primary treatment process removes a significant portion of contaminants from the wastewater. Approximately 60% of the suspended solids are removed. About 35% of the BOD, which measures the amount of oxygen required by microorganisms to decompose organic matter in the water, is reduced. About 30% of the COD is reduced, which indicate the total quantity of oxygen required to chemically oxidize organic and inorganic matter. Then roughly 20% of the total nitrogen, including ammonia, nitrates, and organic nitrogen, is eliminated. About 10% of the total phosphorus, a key nutrient that can contribute to eutrophication in water bodies, is reduced. So this is the bar screen, which is also known as bar rack. It is a mechanical filtration device used in wastewater treatment plants and other facilities to remove large solid substances from the incoming wastewater. The bar screens are typically constructed with parallel bars, rods, wires, wire mesh, or perforated plates. These components have openings which are usually circular or rectangular in shape through which wastewater passes. As wastewater flows through the bar screen, the openings in the bars allow liquid to pass through while trapping the larger solid materials. These can include items like metal, metal cans, paper, plastic materials, and other debris that could potentially clog or damage downstream equipment. The bar screen is positioned at the beginning of the wastewater treatment process, often as the first line of defense against the large debris. The bars or mesh are spaced closely enough to capture the larger solids but allow smaller particles and liquid to pass through it. Secondary treatment. The primary goal of secondary treatment is to promote the biological oxidation of organic materials which are present in the wastewater. So this process occurs under controlled aerobic conditions, meaning oxygen is supplied to support the growth and activity of microorganisms. Now, wastewater undergoing secondary treatment is aerated to ensure sufficient oxygen levels for microbial metabolism. Aeration may involve pumping air into the wastewater or using mechanical devices to agitate the water, thereby enhancing oxygen transfer and microbial activity. Treatment methods which are used involve trickling filters and activated sludge process. Trickling filters, also known as attached growth treatment, this method involves passing wastewater over a bed of porous media where microbial biofilms grow. The organic material in the wastewater is degraded as it comes into contact with these microbial communities. Then activated sludge process. In this method, wastewater is mixed with a culture of microorganisms, means activated sludge, in aeration tanks. The microorganisms consume organic matter as they grow and multiply in the suspended state. After aeration, the wastewater and activated sludge mixture moves to the settling tanks where the sludge settles out and a portion of it is recycled back to the aeration tanks to maintain microbial activity. After the biological oxidation process, the treated wastewater and the biomass or sludge from the activated sludge process or trickling filters are directed to secondary settling tanks. Here the remaining suspended solids, including microbial biomass, settle to the bottom as a sludge. The settled sludge is then separated from the clarified water through sedimentation, and the clarified water, now significantly cleaner, can undergo further treatment or can be discharged into receiving waters depending on the regulatory requirements. Secondary treatment typically achieves significant removal of organic pollutants, including approximately 90% BOD. This reduction helps improve the water quality and reduces the environmental impact of wastewater discharge. Trickling filter. It is a type of wastewater treatment system that utilizes an attached growth process for the biological degradation of organic matter. In a trickling filter, microorganisms responsible for treating wastewater are attached to an inert packing material. This packing material can include materials like rock, gravel, sand, and various types of plastic or synthetic materials. These materials provide a large surface area where microorganisms can grow and form a biological film or slime layer. The trickling filter typically consists of a circular bed filled with the chosen packing material, maybe rocks, gravel, or sand. A rotating distribution arm or similar mechanism, it sprays wastewater evenly over the surface of the bed of rocks. This ensures that the wastewater is uniformly distributed across the filter bed. As wastewater trickles or sprinkles through the bed of rocks, it comes into contact with the microbial film attached to the rock's surfaces. The spaces between the rocks allow air to circulate easily through the filter bed. This airflow helps maintain aerobic conditions over there, which is essential for microbial community to thrive and effectively degrade organic matter. The microbial film, also known as slime or zoological film, on the rock surfaces consumes and metabolizes the organic wastes which are present in the wastewater. This microbial activity led to the biological oxidation of organic matter, where microorganisms use oxygen to break down and convert organic compounds into simpler, less harmful substances. The oxidation of organic matter occurs under aerobic conditions due to the presence of oxygen in the trickling filter. This process helps to significantly reduce the organic pollutant load in the wastewater, making it cleaner and less harmful to the environment. So this is the image of trickling filter. Now you can see the rotating distribution arm which sprays wastewater evenly over the surface of the bed of rocks. You can see this is the rotating arm. This ensures that wastewater is uniformly distributed across the filter bed. Tertiary treatment. Tertiary treatment. It is the final cleaning process that improves the wastewater quality before it is reused, recycled, or discharged into the environment. So first is precipitation. After secondary treatment, effluent may still contain phosphorus compounds that need to be removed before discharge. Calcium oxide, commonly known as lime, is mixed with the effluent. In the presence of water, calcium oxide reacts with phosphorus compounds to form insoluble calcium phosphate, which precipitates out as solid. The precipitated calcium phosphate settles to the bottom of settling tanks due to its density. The settled solids can then be filtered out, further improving the quality of the treated water by removing phosphorus, which is a nutrient that can contribute to water quality issues like eutrophication. Second, chlorination. It is used primarily for disinfection, aimed at killing disease-causing microorganisms or pathogens which are present in the wastewater effluent. Chlorine compounds such as chlorine gas or sodium hypochlorite are added to the effluent in measured doses. Chlorine reacts with organic matter and microbial cells, disrupting their structure and function, thus killing or inactivating the pathogens. Careful monitoring ensures that enough chlorine is added to disinfect the water without leaving harmful levels of residual chlorine in the treated water before discharge. Ozonation. It is another disinfection method which is used to destroy harmful bacteria, viruses, and other microorganisms in water and wastewater. Ozone, a powerful oxidizing agent, is generated by subjecting oxygen molecules to high voltage electrical discharge. Ozone rapidly oxidizes and destroys organic compounds and microbial cell walls, effectively sterilizing the water. Ozone treatment leaves no harmful residual chemicals in the water and can also help in reducing taste and odor issues caused by organic compounds. UV radiation. It is used as a disinfection method to inactivate microorganisms in water and wastewater. Wastewater is passed through UV light chambers where powerful UV lamps emit light at a wavelength that is lethal to microorganisms. UV light disrupts the DNA and RNA of microorganisms, preventing them from reproducing and causing disease. UV disinfection is effective against a wide range of pathogens and does not introduce chemicals into the water, making it environmentally friendly. It is often used as a final step before discharge to ensure that treated water meets regulatory standards for microbiological quality. So first of all, let's understand the process of ETP with the help of this diagram. Then we'll further move on to the video of the ETP plant. So in this, what happens? The primary treatment process includes the wastewater being sent through the bars that can remove large solid substances like metal cans, paper, and plastic materials. After screening, the wastewater passes into grit chamber where it is held for some time. enough to allow sand, grit, and other heavy metals to settle out. Then the wastewater passes to a primary settling tank or sedimentation basin. In primary settling tank, velocity of flow is reduced sufficiently to allow most of the suspended solids to settle out by gravity. The solids that settle, called primary sludge or raw sludge, it is removed for further processing. Then waste such as oils, soap and grease, they rise to the top of the wastewater, and the waste material that settles down at the bottom is known as sludge, and the floatable material is called the scum. Scum is then removed using skimmer, and sludge is removed with scraper every few days. The water that is left out is called the clarified water. In the secondary treatment process, biological or organic wastes are removed. It is a biological process. This is done by transferring the clarified water into an aeration tank where air or oxygen is pumped into the tank, which helps the aerobic bacteria to grow and feed on the organic contaminants. The mixture then flows from the aeration tank into the clarifier where activated sludge settles out by gravity. The activated sludge so produced, along with the sludge which was produced in the primary process, is transferred to the digester where it is decomposed by anaerobic bacteria. Biogas is produced in this process, which can be used as a fuel or can be used to produce electricity. Then the activated sludge is left in the sand drying beds. Now some quantity of water in the activated sludge evaporates and the remaining quantity drains through the sand beds. This leaves behind the remaining dried sludge, which can be used for making fertilizers or compost. In the tertiary treatment process, leftover wastewater is treated with chlorine to remove the phosphorus compounds, nitrogen compounds, and bacteria. It is a chemical process in which chlorine tablets are added to kill the germs, and this process is called chlorination. Then this water is let off into the water bodies. So let's understand the process of effluent treatment plant with the help of this. So first of all, the wastewater, it will pass through the bars, then it will move to grid tank, then it will move to settling tank, then it will move to aeration tank, then from there to clarifier, and sludge collected here will be transferred to digester. Then tertiary treatment will involve disinfection, and the sludge which will be sent here, so from that biogas will be produced, rest sludge will be thrown on the sand drying beds which can be used as fertilizers. So let's start to study each step in detail. So primary treatment process includes the wastewater being sent through the bars that can remove large solid substances like metal, cans, paper and plastic materials. As you can see, these are the bar screens through which wastewater is being sent, and the large substances are being collected here, they are being removed. Then after screening, the wastewater passes into grit chamber where it will be held for some time, enough to allow sand, grit and other heavy metals to settle out. Then the wastewater, it will be passed to primary settling tank or sedimentation basin. In primary settling tank, the velocity of the flow, it will be reduced sufficiently to allow most of the suspended solids to settle out by the gravity. So you can see the velocity of the flow will be reduced. Now the solids are being suspended by the gravity, they are settled, and the solids that settled, called primary sludge or raw sludge, is further removed for processing, and the waste such as oil, soaps and grease, they rise to the top of the wastewater, and the waste material that settles down at the bottom is called the sludge, and the floatable material is known as scum. This scum is then removed using skimmer, and sludge is removed using scraper every few days, and the water that is left out is known as the clarified water. Then in the secondary treatment, biological or organic waste are removed. It is a biological process. This is done by transferring the clarified water into the aeration tank, where air or oxygen is pumped into the tank, which helps the aerobic bacteria to grow and feed on the organic contaminants. So you can see air is pumped or oxygen. So you can see oxygen is being pumped to help organic aerobic bacteria to feed on the organic contaminants. Then the mixture flows from the aeration tank into the clarifier, where activated sludge it settles out by the gravity, and the activated sludge so produced along with the sludge produced in the primary process is transferred to the digester, where it is decomposed by anaerobic bacteria. Biogas is produced in the process, which can be used as a fuel or can be used to produce electricity, and the activated sludge is then left in the sand drying beds. So you can see here biogas is produced in the process, which you can use as a fuel, and the activated sludge which was here, it will be left in the sand drying beds. So some quantity of water in the activated sludge evaporates and the remaining quantity drains through the sand beds. This leaves behind the remaining dried sludge, which you can use for making fertilizers or compost. So this is the activated sludge from where the water evaporates, and the remaining it will drain through the sand beds, and the remaining dried sludge you can use for fertilizers or compost. Then comes the tertiary treatment. So leftover wastewater is treated with chlorine to remove the phosphorus compounds, nitrogen compounds, and bacteria. It is a chemical process. So chlorine tablets are added to kill the germs, and this process is called chlorination. Then this water is left into the water bodies. So this was the process of effluent treatment plant.